Tips with Tony. Tips with Tony. All about nutrition from your favorite dietitian. Everything you need to digest in your mind. Tips with Tony. Tips with Tony. Making you healthier one bite at a time. With Tony. Woo!
Hello and welcome to the Tips with Tony podcast. I'm Tony Marinucci, your registered dietitian, helping you get healthy one bite at a time. Today we are talking all about mindful eating tips. If you've listened to previous episodes or follow me on social media, then you probably have noticed that we have started our 14-day mindful eating challenge. And unfortunately, the enrollment for the 14-day mindful eating challenge is over, so you can no longer get into it. We already started. We're past the midway mark. However, there are some tips that I can definitely provide for you here that I think will really, really help you to really shift your view of food and to practice more mindful eating. And I'll explain why it's important in a second. But before I do that, one thing you may have also mentioned or heard or read about in an email from mine is that we were partnering with Magic Mind while doing the 14-day mindful eating challenge. So I don't want to rob you of the experience of doing some sort of challenge or commitment to yourself and, also being able to try having Magic Mind. I've been drinking it. I put the Magic Mind. It's like a matcha shot with some other really powerful ingredients that I add to my milk. I usually have it midday. I have it as like a little matcha latte. And normally when I would go for like that second cup of coffee to kind of give me the energy boost to kind of get through the second half of the day, I've replaced it with my Magic Mind. And honestly, I've noticed a significant difference in my productivity, my energy, my focus, and even the way that I'm able to then fall asleep and wake up feeling more well-rested, rather than having like the loads of caffeine that often come from a cup of coffee versus matcha has a little bit of caffeine, but nothing crazy. And it's not to replace your coffee. You can still have your coffee in the morning, but it's just a really great added bonus to consider having. So with that said, Magic Mind does its own 14-day challenge that you can kind of commit to yourself. You can get your friends to do it with you. You would just go to the link in my show notes to sign up. You would purchase Magic Mind, but I have a discount code for you. Don't worry. Use TIPS14 at checkout to save 20% if you're buying it one time, or upwards to 45% if you decide to do it on a subscription. So make sure you go to the link in my show notes to sign up for that. Okay, so now, some mindful eating tips for you. So in the 14-day free 14-day mindful eating challenge, we obviously are giving out 14 tips and beyond throughout. However, I felt like the most important ones where anyone can really start was a good place to kind of give you guys here in the podcast and give you some tips on how to get started. So before I break that down for you, why mindful eating? Well, I think a lot of people think that, when you're feeling out of control around food, you automatically need to go on a diet. When ironically, dieting, whether it's following a like specific prescribed diet or following a program or just kind of creating something that you made up on your own, it still is considered a diet in the sense of it has maybe some very rigid rules or guidelines, and it's telling you what to do rather than listening to what your body needs and what your body wants to do and kind of how to find the balance within that. So it's not really getting to the root. And so ultimately you end up breaking up with the diet, or when I say breaking up with it, I mean you stop doing it, you put it on hold, you give up. Really, maybe that's a better term. And then you kind of go back into your old ways. But if you really want to shift the way that you view food, if you really want to get away from dieting in general, and you want to just find balance in your eating habits, and you want to feel control around food, you want to be in charge of your food choices, well, then you're going to actually have to give up this idea of dieting, because it's what's it's what's making you feel out of control around food in the first place, right? When you tell someone that they're not allowed to do something, they're going to want to do it more, right? There's the analogy my therapist usually says to me, which is, if I tell you right now, don't think about an elephant. Don't think about an elephant. The whole time I'm talking about other things, but don't think about an elephant. What are you thinking about? You're thinking of an elephant, right? So if I tell you don't have sweets, don't have sugar, don't have that cookie, you're not allowed to have it. You shouldn't have that. I use all these terms. No carbs, blah, blah, blah. And what are you going to want it? You're going to want it more, right? So we do at Tips with Tony is we really just put everything on a neutral playing field, knowing that all foods can fit. And it's a matter of how do you want to feel? How do you want to be? What's most important to you, and kind of figuring it out from there. So with mindful eating, the reason why mindful eating is so important is because it actually goes to show that with a little bit of mindfulness, a little bit of intention setting, and a little bit more of like bringing it back to you and focusing on you and what you're doing in the moment, you actually have it all figured out. You can figure it out, and you have the answers within you. So you don't need to go looking outside yourself and doing all these, plans and programs in order to kind of figure out what it is that you need for you. Now, certain programs obviously are going to be helpful because they give you some sort of structure, but it's the right type of program. And I know I'm biased when I say that, but obviously what we offer at Tips with Tony, it's not so much telling you what to do, but it's guiding you and supporting you to helping you figure out what you need to do for you and creating your uniqueness within it. So mindful eating is a strategy in order to do that, right? There are certain parameters where you're probably going to feel better, right? If you eat more nutrient dense foods, if you eat more balanced, if you take care of yourself, you're going to feel better. Mindful eating is a tool that can help bring you there. And so all that to say, it is super, super helpful and a really valuable thing to incorporate. Also, too, for the person who struggles with maybe like meditation or the idea of like grounding yourself and like sitting and journaling and, going for a walk and having some alone time. Maybe that feels like a little bit hard for you. But my hope is that every one of you listening to this eats or drinks something at some point in the day. Right? Whether you have a cup of coffee in the morning, hopefully you're eating 3 balanced meals a day at minimum. So mindfulness is a practice. And when you learn to incorporate that practice in your day-to-day through food, it's actually, you're meeting yourself where you're at, right? You don't have to kind of create a new, yes, it's a new habit in itself, but like you're already eating. So let's build on that. It's what we call habit stacking, right? So mindfulness through food is actually one of the easier things to implement because you're already doing it, rather than trying to add a new habit like meditation or journaling or, maybe taking a yoga class or, going for a walk. Either way, we need it to be repetitive, right? We are what we repeatedly do. So if you just do it one time, it's going to be helpful, but it's not really going to get to the root, right? So getting into the habit of having mindfulness as part of your eating routine, it's really going to shift the needle for you. And it really is going to change the way that you view food. You'll actually start to feel empowered. You'll start to notice like, oh, wow, my body is talking to me. And when I listen to it, I'm actually able to figure out what it is that I need. So many people have the questions of, what do I eat? How much should I eat? When should I eat it? And the more you practice mindfulness, those answers start to uncover themselves. It's so, so powerful. So there's many ways to eat more mindfully. There's more than 14 because as we were, doing the 14-day free mindful eating challenge, I kind of had to pick and choose which ones to include. And there's definitely way more than 14, but either way, I think like anything, sometimes it can be overwhelming. So let's start with the basics. And if you're interested in learning more, although the mindful eating challenge enrollment is over, if you are looking for more support, specifically group support, we'll have a very, very exciting thing to share with you. And that is that the Tips with Tony company, group, my program, whatever you want to call it, we are actually launching our very, very first mindful eating accelerator group coaching program. And I'll explain a little bit more about it at the end, but just so you know, there is an opportunity for you to learn how to shift the way that you view food and to shift your mindset even more than maybe what we've provided here through podcasting or through following on social, or even what you learned within the challenge. It takes time to unlearn and relearn some things and to break habits and to make new ones. And we're actually creating a container of an 8-week program. We've never done this before. We do believe that things take time. It's why our signature program is 6 months. at the same time, we noticed that within the 6-month to food freedom coaching program, it's more like one-on-one. We noticed that the first 2 months, which is the first 8 weeks, we're really spending all of our time on mindset. So we were like, okay, how can we accelerate this process? And when you are surrounded with a group of like-minded individuals, you then realize like it's actually more possible to do things faster and easier when you have that support system around it. And so we just wanted to provide something completely different than what we normally have. And that's where we created this 8-week mindful eating. It's not like it's a mindset accelerator group coaching program, but we will touch on mindful eating. So you're going to learn a lot, but more importantly, you are going to have a renewed mindset, a renewed view on food, and you're really going to be able to say bye to diets and hello to balance. And so we're really excited for that. The link's in the show notes to learn more. I'll probably mention it again at the end. Here I am, like 10 minutes into the podcast. I haven't even given you a mindful eating tip. So here we go. All right. So first thing, the first very way you can practice mindful eating is before you even eat. So before you even sit down to eat, when either it's time for lunch or you start to feel hungry or you're kind of thinking, I kind of could go for something. Ask yourself, what am I in the mood for? When it comes to dieting, a lot of people go straight to either all or nothing. So it's either like, I might be in the mood for a burger, but I'm having a salad, right? Or it might be like, I'm so hungry, so I don't care what I'm in the mood for. I just feel like stuffing my face, or I'm going to have everything that I'm in the mood for, but I'm not even going to think about, is there a way I can balance it? So the way I want you to be more mindful and more intentional is to take a minute to pause and think. Instead of going for the very first thing that comes to mind, really take a minute and to ask yourself, like, am I in the mood for that? What am I in the mood for? Do I want something salty or savory or sweet or crunchy or smooth or all of the above? Really take literally, it sounds like it would take longer, but less than a minute, probably 30 seconds, you'll really be able to kind of figure that out. And so really ask yourself, what am I in the mood for? Do I want to bite into something? Do I want to slurp on something? Do I want to sip it through a straw? What kind of experience am I, do I want with it? Do I want it to be cold? Do I want it to be hot? Really think through that, and you'll eventually get to probably somewhere close to what you're actually in the mood for. Now, within that, you can still think about those balanced components. Is there, what type of carbohydrate am I in the mood for? What type of protein am I in the mood for? What type of fat am I in the mood for? What type of color am I in the mood for, right? So a balanced meal usually incorporates all of the macronutrients and some sort of color like a fruit or a vegetable to add even more nutrients, right? And so it's learning how to honor your needs in a balanced way, but then really slowing down and asking yourself, what is it that I'm in the mood for? Rather than being mid through your meal and being like, I don't even like this. What is this, right? So one way to be mindful and to honor your wants and needs is to just ask yourself, what is it that I want? What is it that I need, right? And kind of slow that down. So that's tip number 1. Now, you figure out what you're in the mood for. You create your balanced plate. I strongly encourage you to sit down for your meals. It's really important to try to sit down and remove distractions. Now, guys, I understand sometimes it's not always possible, whether you're eating at work, whether you're eating with family, you're not always alone. You sometimes have to rush through your meals. If you can create that space, I would say at least 30 minutes for you to really eat, that would be great. I know everyone's life is different, but with that said, if you can practice, even though I'm going to give you a few different tips, if you can do even just one of these, that's a huge bonus. Obviously, if you can do all of them, you'll really notice, a big increase in your energy and your productivity and how you view food. But be patient with yourself, okay? I know this can be really uncomfortable. And like any change, it takes time. But, and then with that, I'll say 1 meal a day is probably more realistic than trying to do this with every single meal that you eat, okay? But my hope is 1 meal turns to 2, which turns into 3. And then we get busy and life, gets crazy. And then we need to remind ourselves, and that's okay too. Okay. So sitting for your meal would be great. Removing distraction. So turning the TV off, putting your phone away, even closing the computer screen. If you can get up away from your computer screen or away from your desk, that would be helpful. And then I want you to take 3 big deep breaths. In through your nose, out through your mouth, in through your nose, out through your mouth, and then one more time. In through your nose, out through your mouth. God, I needed that. I really did. It feels so good. And you'll notice your body, when we're in like a stress state, when we're kind of running from A to B, when we have a bazillion things on our mind, it's really hard for our bodies to get ready to digest our food and to utilize all the nutrients and to even pay attention to our hunger and fullness cues. So by taking those 3 big deep breaths, you're literally getting yourself out of the fight or flight response and into the rest and digest phase, and literally it's like your brain's telling your stomach, like, all right, I'm ready. Let's do this. Let's get going. Or your stomach's telling your brain. They communicate constantly. So now you'll feel calmer, slow down, whether you're ravenous or you're like hungry but not starving. You'll be able to now take your next bite in a more calm state. And this brings me to the next tip, which is to savor every bite. So whether you're chewing your food, whether you're, eating it with a spoon, really slow down. If you can put the fork down in between bites, or the spoon down, or the bowl, or whatever it is that you're consuming, take your time, chew your food thoroughly, and just practice that. It is going to feel so weird. Guys, I don't talk about these things because of no reason. Like, me communicating with you guys on a regular basis about, what it takes to find balance in your eating habits and heal your relationship with food are things that I've done in my past and continue to do to help me achieve that same thing. With that said, even after you heal your relationship with food and even after you find balance in your eating habits, we're still human and we still go through seasons and we live busy lives, and it can still be challenging, and sometimes we need to be reminded. Actually, most of the time we know what to do. We just need to be reminded to do it. So more recently for me, things have been really crazy, juggling the real estate business and Tips with Tony. And, I'm trying to do a lot of things. We're launching this new program. We're doing the challenge. Like, there's just so many moving pieces. And I've noticed myself eating in the car more. I've noticed myself scarfing food down. I've noticed myself like eating and then like being like, did I just eat that? That's not good. That's where my hand goes up, the red flags go up, all the things. I'm like, that means not that it's not good as if I'm judging myself, right? Not that I'm bad or morally I'm like a worse human. No, just like, okay, Tony, you need to take care of you. Life, there's a difference between being productive and versus being busy. And there's a difference between, my friend said it so well the other day, and she said, I replaced busy for present a long time ago. And oh my God, did that hit me? I don't know if I talked about this on my podcast before or not, but being present, you can be quote unquote busy. You can have a lot of moving pieces and a lot of things going on. However, if you decide and you choose to be present, then it's a total different ballgame. It's like you're not busy. You're being present. Like, it's like you can be busy, but when you're present, it's like your brain's not here and there. You're in the moment. You're present. So this idea that mindfulness, even though I'm telling you to kind of slow down and savor every bite and to, pump the brakes. It's like, I am, but that doesn't also mean that means like this only works if you are someone who like doesn't have a lot on your plate and all that. If anything, the more that you have on your plate, the more you need to learn how to practice this and to implement this, because it will then help you to be more present so you can tackle more things and do more things and appreciate more things and just, I don't know, just like be yourself. So I don't know. I went on a tangent, which I usually do. Anyways. Okay. So obviously, we figured out what we're in the mood for. We balance it out. we sit down, we remove distractions, we take three big deep breaths, we chew our food, we savor every bite, we're putting the fork down in between, we're, taking our time. I would say if you can create like 20 to 30 minutes to eat, that would be great, because it really does take about 20 minutes or so after you're done eating to assess like, was that enough or not, right? And so which leads to the last question to kind of check in to help you be more mindful and more mindful eater, is to check in with your hunger. In the Mindful Eating Challenge, we just recently taught them about using the hunger scale. And the hunger scale goes from 1 to 10. 10 being like, I'm so full, oh my God, I'm going to throw up. 1 being like, I'm so starving, I'm about to faint, I have a headache. Those are the extremes. We don't want to get from like a 1 to 3. We want to try to avoid that, because for some people, obviously they get hangry, they get headaches. Sometimes when you eat, to choose to eat at like when you wait till 1, 2, or 3, you end up eating to 8, 9, or 10, which is like that uncomfortable fullness. Or you might just in general struggle with digestive issues or energy levels. And so we don't want you to get to that point where you are waiting too long to eat, or then also eating when you're already full. It's very uncomfortable. So on the hunger scale, 4 or 5 is like, I'm hungry, I could eat. Maybe feel a little gnawing in the stomach. Maybe it's just been like 4 hours since your last meal. So, it's probably time to eat. So that's a 4 or 5. 6 and 7. 6 is full, satisfied. 7 is I'm satisfied as well. However, if I take one more bite, I'm going to be too full. It's going to bring me to an 8. So the reason why I want you to check in with your hunger is because when you're first utilizing the hunger scale, it takes time. It can be difficult. It can feel weird, especially if you come from years of dieting. It is definitely not easy in the beginning. And actually for the challenge, it wasn't really, I think their tip of the day wasn't even to necessarily check in, rate their hunger before and after eating. It was more so just to bring awareness to it. It was more so just to start paying attention. Like, can you assess your hunger? Or do you realize, wow, like I'm so busy and distracted and so stressed out, I couldn't even tell you if I'm hungry or not. Like, I only know when I'm starving, and I only know when I'm full, very, very full, but I don't know that in between. And that's where a lot of people start, and can be very, very common. So what I'll say for you for this is, if you are checking in with your hunger after eating, after that 20 minutes has passed, ask yourself, like, if I take one more bite, am I going to be too full? I actually think that's probably the best question, rather than trying to get perfect with the hunger scale, which can be quite complicated, which honestly takes a lot of time to really develop. Just be patient with yourself, but also just ask yourself that one question. How am I feeling now? If I take one more bite, will I be too full? And that in itself, that question can be so empowering, because that shows you that you have the ability to be in charge of your food choices. And we all know that like food tastes really, really good, right? But hopefully your food tastes good. I hope you're actually eating food that you like and are in the mood for. But like, it never tastes as good as the first bite, number one. And it never tastes good when you as good when you feel full. Right? A lot of times that food tastes so good when you're hungry, but when you're full and eating it, it just doesn't have that same feeling, right? And I find a lot of people are trying to enjoy that taste or that feeling again and again and again, and they're just never going to get there. And then they're so full, now they feel sick, and it just wasn't worth it, right? So just always remember that the first bite is always the best bite, and anything after that's never going to be as good. And food doesn't taste as good when you feel full. So hopefully that then slows you down. And I think a lot of people, going back to what I was saying earlier, why this is so important, is a lot of people ask themselves, like, how much should I be eating? Well, I promise you that if you use all of the tips that I just gave for one of your meals, you will notice that your body tells you how much you should be eating. Your body will probably get full before you finish what's on your plate. Or if you eat it really quickly because maybe you didn't put enough on the plate and you want more food, your body will also tell you that, right? So quick recap, create some space, 20 to 30 minutes for you to eat. When it's time for you to eat, ask yourself, what am I in the mood for? Try to balance it out within also honoring your cravings. Sit, remove distractions, take about 3 big deep breaths. When you do decide to eat, savor every bite, chew it thoroughly, put your fork down in between. It's going to feel so weird, guys. It's going to feel like you're meditating. I swear. You're going to be meditating and you don't even know it. And then check in with your hunger after. And then try to stop before you get to that 8, right? Before you get too full. Is when one more bite is going to make you feel too full, that's when you know it's better off to save it for leftovers, save it for later. It's not going anywhere. You're allowed to have it later. You can have it later. You can have it tomorrow. You can have it whenever you want. Okay. That's it. Those are your tips. Those are your mindful eating tips that will shift the way that you view food. If you found this helpful, I would really, really appreciate that you not only take a screenshot of it, share it on your story, wow, talked for way too long. Share it on your story, tag me at tips_with_Tony with an I. Share it with a friend. But what I would love for you to do, if you have been a follower, maybe a new time follower, old time follower, whatever, I appreciate you. I love you very much. I would love, absolutely love, if you could not only hit the subscribe or follow button, but if you go ahead and write a rating, like write a review, that would be amazing. What I'm going to start doing is I'm going to start reading those reviews and giving shout outs. And if you want to be mentioned on the podcast, that would be super cool. And so that's just an incentive to hopefully get you guys to go ahead and do that. And the reason why I'm pushing it is because the more reviews we get, the more, I hate algorithms, but it's just how it works. The more it plays with the algorithm, that means more people find this episode, more people learn, oh my God, there's another way to eat. There's another way to view food. You mean that I could actually eat balance without having to go on try a diet or try this thing to help me figure it out. I can feel in control around food just by practicing mindful eating, right? It's really can be that simple. Obviously now we have to talk about the part of, knowing and the doing. And if you're having trouble connecting the dots, if you're I love this concept and I'm trying to do it on my own, but I'm really struggling and I think I know what I need to do, but maybe I need a little bit more clarity, but more importantly, maybe I need the accountability to help me get there. Well, then the Mindset Reset Accelerator program is going to be the thing for you. I am so excited to host this. We are going to be starting officially on November 1st. So we did this on purpose to provide group support going into and through the holidays. So we'll start November 1st and we end right around before the new year. So this is your opportunity, guys, to start planting the seeds, building the foundation, and preparing for 2023. A lot of people wait till January 1st or later to start a New Year's resolution and all of that. We're hoping that after you do the Mindset Reset Accelerator program, you are actually going to learn that when 2023, you don't have to make this grandiose New Year's resolution because you will already be working on this newer, healthier, more balanced version of you. And you're going to notice that actually it's not about setting, these massive goals. It's just about being a healthy, balanced human being. And you don't have to go on a diet or, like I said before, I think people hear diets and they're like, well, I don't diet. It's well, no, but when you overeat, do you skip meals the next day? Do you just tell yourself I'm only eating vegetables today? Do you say that's it? I'm not having any sugar for the next 30 days. You're not on a diet per se, but you're creating dietary rules. So if there's anything that you're doing or following that has some rules, restriction, or rigidity for no apparent reason, no reason other than, meaning the only reason to justify that is if you have an allergy or an intolerance, right? Then your mindset needs some shifting. Your mindset needs some healing because unfortunately, without building that solid foundation of a balanced mindset, anything you do after that is temporary and it's not going to last in the long run. So we really want to set you up for success. So that way, before 2023, but honestly, 2023 and beyond, you won't have to set this New Year's resolution of a health and wellness goal because you'll already be doing it. You understand what I'm saying? So this is your opportunity. The deadline to sign up is October 31st. However, the sooner you lock it in, the better, because we are limiting spots. We want to make sure it's an intimate background. We have the amazing dietitian Danielle leading the group program. She'll be leading most of the calls. However, I'll be kicking off the first one. I'll be doing the midway one and at the end. But because it's our first time, I'm having her do it. I'll be on all the calls too. I just may not be leading them, but we're really excited about this. It's going to be great. There's already a few signups from people who did the mindful eating challenge. We kind of let them in a little bit early as a bonus for participating in the challenge. So there are already a few spots left. By the time this comes out, maybe a few more spots have been grabbed, but we really, really want you there. It's an incredible opportunity for you to just learn to do things differently. And like I said, say goodbye to diets and hello to balance. So if you are interested in learning more about how you can enroll in the Mindset Reset Accelerator program, I would love for you to text me group to 914-219-6446. Again, text group to 914-219-6446. Group to 914-219-6446. You can also find the link to text me in the show notes. We hope to see you inside of the group program. Bonus for before signing up before October 31st. So we start November 1st. That'll be the first group call. But bonus for signing on before then is you get access to the app that you'll utilize throughout the program. So you can start, taking pictures of your food. You can start communicating with the group. You can kind of already get a sense and feel of who's in there. And you'll already get some of your questions answered, although officially launch it on November 1st. You'll get a lot of extra tips and bonuses kind of prepping for that. So the sooner you sign up, the better. That's all I got to say. If you have any questions about it, don't hesitate to reach out to me, tipswithtony@gmail.com. We're really excited. We know that this is going to be probably another signature program that we continue to launch. But with that said, this is also, I should add, this is the first time ever the price is going to be this low, because it's the first time ever that we're hosting it. And it's the first time, it's new, right? It's something that we're confident in our delivery, but it hasn't been really tested before. So it wouldn't be fair for us to price it, at a level where we know for a fact that this is the best thing that we ever created, right? We need to be honest and transparent. So with that said, although it might be offered again, probably like January, February, this will be the only time that it is under $1,000, and it is significantly under that. If for reference, it's half of that. So it's $497 for 8 weeks of coaching, and it is really, really, really transformative. So highly encourage you to take advantage of what I would guess we can call the early bird, because it will never be this price will never be this low again. It is for anybody who is tired of dieting, tired of trying to figure it out on their own, who feels alone, and is ready to learn how to take care of their bodies in a new way, in a balanced way, and in a way of support of the group and a support of nutrition experts, and an easier way. Let's just say it like that. All right, guys, I've rambled for a bit, so I'm going to leave you here. Thank you so much for listening. As always, this is Tony Marinucci, your registered dietitian, helping you get healthy one bite at a time.